This is Dr. David Deschine kicking off this edition of Saving America with my Week in Review commentary. The Dem shutdown of American security continues with the ridiculous long lines at airports. The Iran war rolls on with Trump claiming total victory, but Iran still shooting missiles at its neighbors. And business, for some unknown reason, Brendan Carr, head of the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, has signed off on the anti-consumer, anti-competitive Nexstar-Tegna merger. Let's take a closer look at these and other hot stories for week 13 of 2026. The Dem shutdown rolls on at this busy time with spring break and the start of the travel season. There has been a record lines at airports. TSA employees have not been paid for over a month. Many of them are calling out. I do not recall a time in America where travelers had to wait over 5 hours just to get through airport security, and the delay is for nothing. Again, ICE is separately funded, and ICE is protecting American people from murderers, rapists, and thieves. Never forget that. Further, the head of ICE has been fired, Kristi Noem, and the incoming head, Mark Wayne Mullen, is a very different leader. So as 2026 is an election year, it is time to vote against every Democrat for every slot from city council to U.S. Senate. Dems are proving that they value criminal illegals more than hardworking American taxpayers. Don't forget that. Hey, if you've enjoyed our content here on Saving America, be sure to check out our new site on Patreon, and that is going to be Dr. Dave Saves America on Patreon. Be sure to check it out for additional content. The Iran war rolls on. How many times do I need to remind the administration that the trick is to underpromise and overdeliver? Trump keeps telling the world that Iran's military assets are destroyed, and then Iran shoots rockets at a U.S. military base 4,000 miles away. These whack terrorists are just shooting missiles at other Arab countries as well, not just the U.S. An important lesson for the world with those missiles that travel 4,000 miles is that Iran had more heavy-duty stuff than anyone imagined. So despite my personal resistance to endless wars in other countries, I do completely support exterminating the current Iranian regime. And Trump appears to have learned the lesson of Vietnam and Desert Storm. Don't stop until the other side is destroyed. The lesson was not learned, unfortunately, by past administrations, but maybe this business person, instead of a career politician, takes a little bit different view. Phased war gives the other side time to recover, so give it all of you got one time. I do believe that Pete Hegseth is the best Secretary of War in modern history. A recent statement of his certainly pleased me. We've decided to share the ocean with Iran. We've given them the bottom half. The United States has sunk more than 120 Islamic Republic ships. So, facts are that Iran's Navy, Air Force, and air defenses are destroyed. Many military facilities are destroyed. And of course, the terrorists are harassing traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. That needs to be fixed, and now. I like the fact that after some hesitation, the rest of the Allied powers are ready to help in keeping the strait open. I'm not certain that the regime's military capabilities are fully destroyed. The recent missiles convey a message that they have some more stuff hidden. Keep bombing until they cry uncle. Nexstar-Tegna merger, anti-consumer, anti-competitive. I rarely suggest changes in Trump's current lineup in D.C., but time to fire FCC Chair Brendan Carr. It was insane for him to even think about approving the merger of Nexstar and Tegna. Reports are that the deal would give Nexstar 260 television stations across 44 states, or about 80% reach across the U.S., and this was done without a full vote of the commission. The current law, passed in 2004, much more tightly limits ownership of TV stations to 39% national coverage. So I'm not sure why Carr approved this merger. The decision by the FCC and the DOJ, that's Department of Justice, resulted in a near immediate closing of the $6.2 billion deal by Nexstar. However, it ain't over yet. 8 state attorneys general have filed suit to block the merger on antitrust grounds. In addition, Newsmax, DirecTV, and other smaller networks have also filed suit to block the merger. Their argument is that smaller markets like rural areas will be hurt by the merger. The consensus seems to be that the cost will dramatically increase for providers, and of course that means for us consumers, due to this merger. Rough ride for the economy. The Fed inflation report was at 3.4% annualized, which is not good news for consumers. Worse yet, this number is before the Iran war and $100 barrel oil. No surprise, the March Fed meeting held interest rates at current levels. The Fed is trying to control inflation, so this new number is not a good one for those who want lower interest rates either. This, on top of rough jobs market, means the GOP has a big hill to climb to keep the House and the Senate in November. A quick end to the Iran war with a decisive win and flowing oil would do a lot to calm things down. Bogus identity theft awards. I'm assuming that many of you have received more than one notice that some institutions that you have shared your identity with have sent you a form telling you that you were hacked. The usual language is that they are not sure that they have fixed the problem, and likely you may or may not have been impacted. The standard offer is free credit monitoring for a year. I am now up to about 6 of these over the last 3 years. These services then send you useless notices that your credit balance went up or down, but provide little helpful information, knowing that some of your personal information on the black web is not exactly stunning or helpful, of course. I recently signed up for some medical tests, of course, each one at a different facility. Each one required full registration, including all my ID stuff. I did sit there and think about what kind of security do these operations really have? What is their liability other than these credit monitoring things? Well, there's always class actions, right? If you watch any TV, you may have reviewed a commercial or two regarding class actions for asbestos, certain drugs, and of course, Roundup. These all promise the world, and you don't have to pay any money. One of the financial institutions where I have an account was apparently hacked. I filled in some official paperwork about 18 months ago regarding a class action suit participation. I forgot about it. Then a couple days ago, I received a notice of a Zelle payment of $12.58. Yep, that massive sum. I think that might get me a hamburger combo at a fast food restaurant these days. That sure as daylight won't make up for my ID being compromised. I do wonder how much the attorneys who filed the class action got out of that deal. Amazon versus Walmart. Amazon recently passed Walmart as the largest employer in the United States in this battle of the behemoths of the retail world. The latest is that Amazon is introducing 1 and 3-hour delivery in some markets. Apparently, as many as 90,000 items could be included in these quick deliveries. Household items like toilet paper, for instance. It won't be free. Prime members will pay an extra $9.99 for 1-hour delivery and $4.99 for 3-hour delivery. Without Prime, it's $19.99 for 1 hour and $14.99 for 3-hour delivery. Of course, you could also pick up orders at most of your local supermarkets. Recently, as part of the local Chamber of Commerce, I had the chance to tour Houston Amazon warehouse. All I can say, it is really amazing. The warehouse could hold 30 football fields. It had 10 million different products with a total of 35 million products in just that one warehouse. This place focused on smaller items. Other Amazon warehouses handle furniture and larger items. I like the focus on safety throughout the facility. My favorite part was the advanced technology. Everything is coded from the inbound door to the outbound shipping. Robots manage the inventory. Seeing that alone is worth the visit. And yet 2,500 people also work at this facility, and that balloons to 4,500 people during the holidays. If you belong to a group that has the opportunity for a tour of a local Amazon warehouse like this, I strongly encourage you to check it out. Full disclosure, I do have a few shares of Amazon stock, and yes, I am also a longtime business member of Sam's Club, the warehouse operation at Walmart. Trimming the Department of Education. Since his election, Trump has been pushing to eliminate the Department of Education. Despite being a professor, I do support this, as this is a failed operation created by a failed president, Jimmy Carter. The quality of education has gone down since it was created in the late 1970s. Certainly not an endorsement for continuing this waste of money. Congress would need to eliminate the department itself, but it can legally be trimmed by the president in the meantime. The latest is moving the massive $1.7 trillion federal student loan portfolio to the Department of Treasury. It should have been there all along, and I hope they do what the Ed Department has not done: dramatically reduce the high level of defaults on payments. Students who took the money have a legal and moral obligation to pay the money back. There have been a lot of compromises over the last 4 years, but it's time to pay up. Naturally, the whack left is up in arms. There's one so-called student advocacy group that claims the poor babies won't know how to get breaks. Hey, this is for studies in college and grad school. Students at that level who borrow that money should understand their responsibilities, including what payment or credit options are available. For instance, teaching in a public school to work off some of the debt. They should not need some lefties telling them how to follow the rules. Iranian regime is a terrorist operation. The terrorists who have been running Iran for the last 47 years are even worse than most Americans realize. The latest is the public hanging of 3 protesters against the regime. One of the 3 was a champion on Iran's national wrestling team, who was only 19 years old. Remember, this is a regime that financed the Hamas attack on innocent concertgoers in Israel on October 7th. Right, all you protesters who were crying when the IDF went after the cowardly Hamas, who were hid behind the Gazan people. This is real terror that needs to be protested around the world. ODU shooter, a student without a criminal records check. Yep, the ISIS-supporting terrorist who killed 1 and wounded 2 others at Norfolk's Virginia Old Dominion University ROTC program was allowed to become a student without a criminal records check. Why? Because the Dems in the Virginia legislature passed a law prohibiting criminal record checks for state and university applicants. Given the incredibly bad job the new governor is doing in Virginia, I doubt it will be fixed until the populace in that state recalls her and gets back on track. A reminder that the shooter pled guilty in 2016 to supporting ISIS and went to prison for 11, not the 20 years recommended by the prosecution. Failure of justice number 2 is letting him out of prison after only 8 years instead of the 11. Third, letting him on campus instead of deporting him after withdrawing his citizenship, as he was a naturalized citizen formerly of Sierra Leone. This is yet another brutal reminder that America must do a better job of vetting immigrants seeking citizenship of this fine country. In response, some members of Congress have proposed a law that if a naturalized citizen is convicted of any type of crime related to terrorism within 10 years, they will automatically be deported. I strongly support that law. An illegal who had been deported from the U.S. 4 times and returned each time, along with 15 prior arrests, is accused of shoving 2 men onto subway tracks in New York City. Fortunately, the younger man pulled the 83-year-old vet off the tracks, although he was seriously injured. This is yet further evidence that ICE needs to continue to do its job, and the Dems in D.C. are on the wrong side of civilization itself. Remember, the damaging Dem shutdown is to protest ICE doing its job. How wrong can they be? If the GOP can get this message out consistently, it would help clarify the relative positions of the GOP and the Dems. This could help to balance the current negative financial news as we careen towards the November elections. Cancer deaths tied to colorectal cancer. I want all of us to live long and happy lives. A sad fact is that reports are that colorectal cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths in people under 50 years old. Frankly, I found the report surprising due to the progress the world is making in detecting and curing various forms of cancer. I recall actress and former model Farrah Fawcett died of a form of this cancer at only 62, but apparently had symptoms at a much earlier point, but did not get them checked out. Doctors are encouraging the heavily promoted home fecal test at an earlier age. Yeah, I know it sounds unpleasant, but imagine if you are the one who gets an early diagnosis and effective treatment. Doctors in this specialty say these cancers are highly treatable at an early stage. If you have any of the risk factors such as obesity, physical inactivity, or a diet with lots of ultra-processed food, you may request an early colonoscopy. I have had two, and yeah, prep's a bit irritating, but in both cases, the actual test took less than an hour, was fully covered by insurance, and I was cleared both times. And that's Dr. Dave's Week in Review for Saving America. If you've enjoyed this show, please like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube at Dr. Dave Saves America. I appreciate your support. Now, let's all go out and consciously get along with our neighbors. Let's reduce the violence and discord in our wonderful country. This is Dr. David D. Shine. Thanks for joining me for this special edition of Saving America. Remember, a new Saving America show is aired on the Brushwood Media Network every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Listen on any of the 16 network stations, Apple or Google mobile app, Apple CarPlay, TuneIn, Smart Speaker, and all smart TVs. Find more information at thebrushwoodmedianetwork.com. Please be sure to join us each week. We welcome and love your feedback from our growing audience.